This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome, everybody, to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I am your host, as always, Jeff Malinoff, and with me, as always, is Mark Souza. We got some things to talk about in the world of sports, as in we got some weird NFL playoff scenarios that could happen. We'll talk about most of the scenarios because some are already maybe set in stone, some are not. We'll get in right on that. We also have some surprises in the NFL scenario, playoff scenarios that could still happen, so we'll get right on that. We also will be talking about the Oakland Raiders and where they might be playing next season because the city of Oakland is not very happy that they're going to Las Vegas, so they might be going somewhere earlier before their new stadium is built. Also, we're going to round up the NBA, but let's talk about the NFL playoffs for a second because they are very close to happening. We are only just a few weeks away from Week 17, and then by then we'll probably have everything we need to know about the playoffs. But
we better have everything we need to know by Week 17, right?
Yeah, seriously. Well, I mean that we don't. It's good to always know Week 17 has some games that are at stake, you know. Mm-hmm. But here are some teams that people don't really believe actually have a shot to make the playoffs, but still do. For instance, the Cleveland Browns still have a chance to win the NFC North. Mm-hmm. If the Cleveland runs the table, Pittsburgh and Baltimore collapse, basically, then they have a shot. So the Browns need to win out. The Patriots and then the Steelers need to lose out, basically, is what needs to happen. But that honestly is possible because the Steelers are facing the Patriots, the Saints, and then the Bengals. I know maybe the Bengals is a long shot, but the Patriots and the Saints, they could lose those two games and give the Bengals hope going into Week 17 for a playoff spot.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, the problem is, though, there's two teams ahead of them. If it was just them behind Pittsburgh, then I'd say they had a chance, but Baltimore is also ahead of Cleveland. Mm-hmm.
There is also there's also a chance in the AFC where the top seeds in the AFC are not the Chiefs or the Patriots.
Right.
There's an opportunity for Los Angeles Chargers to take the 1 seed and Miami to take the 2 seed.
Miami.
At 10-6. Yes. You know how that's going to happen?
What about Houston?
Well, this is just a scenario, but this is how it will happen. Okay. If the Patriots miss the playoff entirely. Mm-hmm. The Patriots will have to lose out the whole season, and the Dolphins need to beat the Vikings, and the Bills to defeat the Patriots in Week 16, and the Dolphins to beat the Jaguars in Week 16. And if the Patriots lose just those two games in the next 2 weeks, Week 17, the Dolphins beat the Bills. They take the division because of this Miami miracle that happened this last week.
Mm-hmm. I saw that Miami is you can buy the Miami Miracle shirts, actually.
I think that's premature.
Well, what do you mean? No, I'm saying you could buy the shirt of the play. Like there's a Miami Miracle. That's what they called the play.
I think it's too early to sell merchandise of it, but that's just me.
Man, it's 2018. It's like, you know how things happen. It's super fast.
And if that happens...
I mean, it was a miracle. Whether they make the playoffs or not, it's going to go down as maybe the greatest individual play in Miami Dolphins history, right?
But if the Dolphins do take that second seed, Houston will have the third seed at 9-6. And wait, what? 9-6-1. That's right. That's how it works.
So who would Houston tie?
That's the question. I don't understand why this situation is like that, but that's just how it works. This is a possibility. That's all it says. And Cleveland will take the 4 seed facing Kansas City. If Kansas City loses out and goes 12-4.
Yeah, all this stuff sounds
but it could happen.
Highly unlikely. Kind of like, I don't know.
The
earth being flat.
I don't know. The Patriots had a 99.9% chance of winning against Miami, and they didn't do it, so.
That's true. That was also a single event, though, right? I mean, in these crazy playoff scenarios, you're talking about everything hitting the right way.
But the Bills made the playoffs last year by this sort of miracle.
Yeah, the Bills made it because the rest of the AFC didn't want to participate.
But here is actually a more likely possibility that could happen.
Let's hear it.
Well, LA could still take the 1 seed in the AFC. That's still very possible.
Yeah, if they win tomorrow, they're already top of the division.
They can win. They could go 13-3 this season, which is incredible to think about because they've been under the radar this whole season. It feels like. Mm-hmm. And Houston would take the next seed with their record at 11-5, and if that happens, New England would have to go 10-6. Kansas City would have to go 12-4. And still possible, we would see a Cleveland-Pittsburgh playoff matchup in Heinz Field. Mm-hmm. So there are multiple scenarios in where Cleveland is in the playoffs. Coming off an 0-16 season, they could go 8-7-1 into the playoffs.
They could win out, but they definitely have to win out. There's no doubt about it. And the problem is that Week 17, Cleveland is at Baltimore. So even if they win their next 2 games, which they definitely could, they play the Broncos and the Bengals. Those are 2 very winnable games. In fact, I think the Browns should win both of those games. But they're still the Browns. Like they're not, even though they're better, they could lose both these games. It wouldn't shock me.
But next week they do play the Broncos, and the Broncos are surprising 3-point favorites.
Yeah, because they're at home.
Mm-hmm. And if they do, they'll be 6-7-1 going into Week 16, which is the game you were just talking about.
And they'd be 7-7-1 if they beat the Bengals.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would have to face Baltimore, which is
currently 7-6.
So Baltimore could go be like 7-7, 7-8 going into that game, very possibly. I know that's unlikely, but it's very possible. And I think it's really remarkable how we're at a point in the NFL season right now where the Browns are fighting for a playoff spot.
I mean, they're loosely fighting for a playoff spot. Let's be honest.
Hey, last season they were 0-14 going into this next week, 15. So it's truly remarkable they're even being considered a playoff team.
Yeah, but I mean, even teams like the Giants and the Bucks and the Lions are still playing for the playoffs, right? Like,
well, the Browns have more of a likely of a chance than these two do. I know because honestly, do you see Pittsburgh beating the Patriots
Cleveland
and the
is
Saints?
in 11th place right now in the AFC.
Yes, right now, but the division.
So is Tampa. Tampa Bay is 11th place in the NFC.
It doesn't matter about that. It matters about division spots.
I mean, it matters because the Browns are probably not going to win the division.
It's still possible.
It is possible.
Because the Steelers are facing a tough next 2 weeks, playing the Patriots and the Saints.
It is possible.
And who knows? The Bengals played spoiler last year against the Ravens. Remember that miracle game that got the Bills into the playoffs? It could happen again this year when they play the Steelers.
It's also possible that the Giants could win the NFC East, which sounds pretty crazy.
Well, let's face it. The NFC East is really weak. I know the Cowboys are on a run right now, but it's still a weak division.
Some would say that the NFC North or the AFC North is a weak division too. Currently the Pittsburgh Steelers are 7-5-1 and they're leading their division.
Oh, both. That's why I'm saying that both these. But I'm saying, I would say the NFC East is weaker. That's my personal opinion. But I just think because of how rough the Steelers had the next 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I think the Browns still have an opportunity. And the Browns don't have that much. Like we said, they can win the next 2 games absolutely and get into and face the Ravens for a playoff spot.
Sure, they could. And they could lose the next 2 games. That's the thing is if I was confident in the Browns being able to run the table, that'd be one thing. But even though it would be a fun story, it would definitely be a fun story. I'm hoping that this happens. I still don't know if the Browns are going to win more than 2 of their last. Well,
let's see. The
games.
Broncos it was 20-14 lost by the Broncos against the 49ers. But that game was over before that. It was more of a blowout in retrospect.
It was close at the end.
Yeah, but that first half was all 49ers. And this could happen when it comes to when the Browns play the Broncos. If the Browns go off in the first half, this game might be over before that fourth quarter. And
there's a reason why Denver's favored in this game, though, right?
It's home. I get that.
Yeah, and I mean, Yes, what you're saying is right. The Browns look like they might be the stronger team, but we know that this is the NFL, and if the Broncos won 35-14, I really wouldn't be surprised. Like, it's just one of those things. We're talking about two very mediocre teams playing each other. One's at home, one's away. Yeah, the Browns could pull off the upset. I could get behind that for sure.
I'm just thinking this is to me, this is a very realistic scenario that some people are not really thinking about.
The problem is, though, is that it's not so much the Browns. It's the Ravens and the Steelers have to literally lose all the rest of their games. Like, they can't. One of those teams can't win 2 games. If one of those teams wins 2 games, the Browns aren't making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Ravens can actually lose just one of those games and they'll be fine. And they're playing San Diego, Los Angeles.
I wish we had a little cup where you had to put $1 in every time you say
Well,
San Diego.
how many times are we going to get... We both have messed that up.
I've never been wrong or messed up in my life, so I have no idea what you're talking about, Jeff.
I could say a really mean joke right now, but I won't.
You can say whatever you want.
Marrying your wife was your one mistake. Boom!
Marrying my wife was my one mistake.
I don't even know. She must be a lovely woman, but I just had to...
I feel like you didn't even diss me. You dissed my wife.
It was, could have been either way. Or your wife.
I'll let her listen to this today.
I don't know. I just thought about, hey, let's do something personal joke because those are the best.
If it was a good joke, maybe I would have been mad, but it was so dumb that I don't even care. So anyways, let's talk about your freaking dream of the Browns making the playoffs.
It's not a dream. It would be a fun scenario.
It would be fun. The problem is that they'd have to win the division, in my opinion, because I do think Indianapolis and either the Chiefs or the Chargers will get that last playoff spot if Baltimore or Pittsburgh don't get that last wild card spot. There's really like 3 teams that they're going to have to jump. Could it happen? Abso-freaking-lutely. Will it happen? Abso-freaking-lutely not. We'll see, though.
You just contradicted yourself. Could it happen? Abso-freaking-lutely. Will
could.
it? Absolutely not. You just...
I could win the lottery, but I'm probably absolutely not going to win the lottery, right?
Yeah, but it just sounded like your country, like, absolutely this could happen, but absolutely will not happen. Like, which one is it going to be?
What do you mean? It's both. Both things can happen, right?
But absolutely means 100% it's not going to happen. You can't say 100% it's not going to happen, but 100%
hit by an
it can.
asteroid when I leave today, but it's not going to happen. That's what I'm saying.
How you said it, the sentence how you said it made no sense.
No,
it made no sense.
No, it made sense.
How you said it was absolutely it's going to happen. It could happen.
I said it could happen. It absolutely could happen, but I said it absolutely would not happen.
It just doesn't make much sense to me how that sentence works.
You know what? You got to go. Maybe you should have went to Chico State. Maybe you should have went to the Harvard of the West. Maybe
oh, my God. Shut your mouth. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, Harvard of the West, # Chico State.
Yeah, I don't think anyone... And I think people that go to Chico State right now will say,
is there any other playoff scenarios that we could talk about other than the stupid Browns?
Oh, yes. The Patriots not making the playoffs is a very big possibility
that's
also.
Not happening. That's a very big possibility. A very big possibility. Give me a percentage.
I'm not going to give you a percentage because it's impossible to put a percentage on this because we have to...
There's math involved in all this.
Well, that's like you got to think of carrying the 17% to the 22% times the square root of 35%.
Yeah. I mean, smarter people than me, but there's definitely got to be a website out there that shows everybody's playoff percentages at this point.
Yes, granted, they are playing the Bills in Week 16. I understand that's probably going to be a win for them. But the thing is, the Patriots have blown these, their 4 losses have been...
They're going to make the playoffs. It's going to be simple. They're going to go 8-0 at home.
Man, you have no imagination.
I do, but I don't care for the BS. You know what I mean?
Just watch. Well, they play the Steelers, which is going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
Next week.
And they could lose that game, but they're not going to lose the last 2 games. They're playing at home against the Bills and at home against the Jets. I'm sorry, it's not happening. They're winning both of those games. I'm
just saying these are possible scenarios. I know I'm saying they're actually going to happen. I never said they're actually going to happen. I'm saying these are possible scenarios.
The thing is that I want one of these crazy things to happen,
Yeah. I mean, the Packers could still make the playoffs. I know that sounds absurd.
They could.
But it could happen. I mean, firing Mike McCarthy might be the best thing that could happen to this team.
The Packers making the playoffs seems a lot more likely than the other two things: the Browns making it, or the Patriots missing it. Just because the NFC, that sixth spot, man, that sixth spot is wide open. Minnesota had it. I think they still currently have it. Yeah, they do. But they're 6-1. I mean, the Packers are technically one game underneath them. They're just one game.
And, actually, a surprising one seed that could actually be a possibility is the Bears being the one seed in the NFC. Like, people are not really thinking about that, but it's a possibility that could happen. Because the Rams could lose out. Obviously, that's probably not going to happen.
They play the 49ers week 17.
Yeah. Well, the 49ers have been putting up points recently, so you never know.
They're going to lose by 35 if the Rams need to win that game.
That's a little obscure. That's a little much.
Probably
but okay.
45. 55.
Okay, shut up. Anyways, and then the Saints have been kind of would you say the Saints have been struggling? Because I feel like the Saints have been struggling.
I mean, they lost one game, but before that, didn't they have the highest win streak other than the Texans?
But that game against the Buccaneers, I know they won that game, but they didn't look like the Saints to me.
That might be true, but they won comfortably.
Yeah, 28-4. But it was against a very weak Buccaneers team. And Drew Brees.
We're just kind of putting them in a different pedestal, right? Like, we look at 28-14, and if it's not the Saints or the Rams or the Chiefs or the Patriots, we're probably like, man, that's a really good win. But since it's the Saints and we expect them to win every game like 45-20 and throw for 400 yards and stuff like that, we're like, oh man, that was kind of underwhelming.
But the thing is, if going back to the Patriots thing, all they need to do is lose to the Steelers and get upset by the Bills, and the Dolphins win out there in the playoffs.
Say it one more time.
The Dolphins can still win the East.
They could.
Which is really weird to think about, but it's most likely not going to happen, but it's still it's a possibility. And because the Steelers could easily beat the Patriots, that's a big possibility. Dolphins could beat the Vikings. The Vikings have been struggling. And then it says Bills.
I would be pretty surprised if both of those things happen this week, though. Not that it can't, but I mean, I still feel like both of those teams are underdogs in those games, right? Like, I feel like the Patriots will beat the Steelers, and I feel like the Dolphins will also lose their game away against Minnesota. But it could happen, yes. That could be the start of this weird scenario. That would have to be the start of this weird scenario, actually. I could see that.
And if the Patriots do not make the playoffs, we might see the end of the Tom Brady Belichick era as we know it.
Maybe.
Because what we would also talk about a Tom Brady decline. Like, is he losing his touch? We would also have to be considering that too.
Yeah, Tom Brady is 41. So
he has been playing. He won the MVP last year. We know that, but he's been kind of under the radar this season when it comes to being a great quarterback. You know, he's won games, sure, but he's not had these games where like, oh, that's why he's the best. Yeah,
the Patriots have been different this year. They run the ball more than any other team in the NFL when they get inside the 5-yard line. They like to have a more balanced approach, and it makes sense because Brady's getting older. You don't want him throwing the ball 40, 45 times a game. But I just wonder if they're just waiting to unleash Tommy B in the playoffs. That's kind of where I stand with that. Yeah. But yeah, he's not going to put up. I think that's it for Tom in terms of being an MVP or putting up these gaudy numbers. Like, he's going to put up good numbers, but I don't think he'll ever have seasons again where he's throwing for like 4,500 yards and, I don't know, 37 touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, this has definitely been a, how do you explain this? It's definitely been a kind of an odd season for sure.
Absolutely. This has been a fun season at this point. I like all the different playoff scenarios. They are interesting, even if they are a long shot. Maybe one of these long shot scenarios works. That's a reason why we love sports, though. We like rooting for the underdog. We like looking for the unexpected. I think last year the Philadelphia Eagles playoff run / Super Bowl win was really unexpected, and that became fun for a lot of people who really didn't have a dog in the fight, for people whose teams didn't make the playoffs or non-Cowboy fans, I guess you could say. But anyways, moving on, we need to go to a break. But before that, we need to talk about a great gift these holidays. Audible. Audiobooks inspire us, motivate us, and bring us closer. There's no better place to listen than Audible. Get your first audiobook free along with 2 selected Audible original titles and exclusive fitness programs when you start a 30-day trial. So take the time to listen on Audible. Just visit audible.com/GSMC book or text GSMC book to 500-500. This could be a great gift for a loved one, someone who likes to listen to audiobooks. Maybe they like fitness programs and all that stuff. So right now, for a limited time, you can get 3 months of Audible for just $6.95 a month. That's more than half off the regular price. Sign up a loved one. Give them $20. You just gave them 3 months of audiobooks. Go to audible.com/GSMC book or text GSMC book to 500-500.
What happens to your decision-making when you drink? Well, after one drink, you feel confident. A few more, and calling your ex at 1 a.m. seems like a great idea. And you're pretty sure the secret to a great taco is 4-day-old macaroni. The bottom line, drunk you doesn't make great decisions. So you're risking a DUI or worse if you count on him to get you home. Plan before you party. Get home safe. Brought to you by Washington Target Syrup.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We talked about some odd playoff scenarios that are our possibilities going into these next final 3 weeks of the NFL season. Now we're going to talk about the Oakland Raiders. And are they going to be, where are they going to play?
Where are they going to play?
Where are they going to play? That's the question.
Play next year?
Well, we don't know. That's the thing. Because Oakland has sued the Raiders for what they call an illegal move.
Yes. And Mark Davis, the owner of the Oakland Raiders, had said previously, if the city of Oakland sues us, we will not play there any longer. So, with that being said, are they going to be playing somewhere else? Because if he's going to stick to his word, then it sounds like they will be. Question is, Jeff, where could they actually play next year? Because we know that their stadium in Las Vegas will not be ready for them.
Mm-hmm. And, well, the thing is, I have to say that the options are San Diego, Santa Clara is also an option. Las Vegas is also an option. Playing at UNLV, I believe, is where they thought about. And some other places here and there. But I think the most logical ones are San Diego, Santa Clara, and Las Vegas.
San Diego, Santa Clara, Las Vegas. So it sounds like as of today, there's been 5 possibilities floated. They play in Oakland, they resolve this, they just play there one more year, which honestly I think might be the likeliest solution. They play in San Diego at Qualcomm, where the San Diego Chargers were, who are now the Los Angeles Chargers. They could play in Santa Clara at the 49ers Stadium, which is not too far away, maybe 20, 25 miles or so? Maybe a little bit further. And they could play at Sam Boyd Stadium in UNLV, but that might be a problem because I don't think that stadium is ready. They'd have to upgrade it, renovate it, do all sorts of things. I don't know if that could be done in the next 6 months or so. That seems like an unlikely scenario, but UNLV, obviously that stadium is located outside of Las Vegas, so it makes, I guess, logistical sense since they're moving to Las Vegas. Or did you hear that Reno? Reno is actually a place that they could play, that UNR.
That's also, I could see that also, but I think Reno is going to be like the last possible scenario type thing. I think Reno's, I doubt that.
I shot a man in Reno. Sorry. Sure. Anyways, so where will they play? That is the question. Of the 5 cities that I named, give me your most likely to your most unlikely. Again, they are Oakland, San Diego, Santa Clara, Reno, or Vegas.
Most likely, San Diego.
Really?
Yeah.
Second most likely?
Second most likely, probably Vegas.
Third?
Then Santa Clara.
Fourth?
Reno.
And then last is Oakland.
Yeah.
You really think they have no chance, huh?
Well, if the suit does happen, then yeah.
But, Mark Davis did say he did say that they would love to play in Oakland next year if the city of Oakland will have us. So he said, emotionally, I would say, why would I give them $3, $4, $5 million in rent if they're going to turn around and use to sue me? But at the same time, if they'll have us, I can't turn on the fans. I can't do it. This is terrible negotiating I'm doing right now. I'm going to get killed, but that's just the way I am. But in fact, if it does get ugly and it can't be bridged, we do have options. So, that was before.
I think San Diego will more than happy let them play there for a season.
The problem is, I think San Diego wouldn't mind it, but I don't know if the NFL would approve it. There is talk that the NFL would not approve that because they just lost a team, and there's 2 teams playing in LA right now, that the league would be like, nope, sorry, look for a different solution. That I could see happening. I'm sure that they would sell tickets if they played in San Diego. I mean, Oakland has the Raiders brand has a great following in Southern California.
Yeah, this is true. But I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. But if the suit doesn't happen, obviously they'll stay in Oakland. But I don't know. I think they might pull the trigger on this whole suit thing. I don't know. Don't you think it's like they're calling the bluff of Mark Davis?
Yeah, and I think the city of Oakland, since the writing is on the wall that the Raiders are leaving, I think they're throwing their weight around a little bit, and that's their prerogative, I see no problem with that.
Yeah.
This is a weird situation, though. I don't recall ever seeing a sports franchise kind of be in this, I don't know, public battle and have no idea where they're going to be playing football next season, or any sport for that matter.
Well, that's where we are now. And of course it happens to Oakland.
Yeah, so Mark Davis called the lawsuit, quote, meritless and malicious. So, since it's a legal issue, he doesn't want to talk about it any further. This could get ugly, I think. I definitely think this has the opportunity to, I don't know, get uglier than prettier, I guess you could say. I think you said that you think San Diego's highest on the list. I still think that they'll play in Oakland. I really do. I think Oakland is the likeliest place. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll come to some sort of agreement, some sort of settlement out of court. The Raiders will play. They'll have to do, I don't know, maybe pay slightly more money. I don't know. I think Santa Clara would be the second option. I really do. And I know that Mark Davis has said in the past that he does not want to be a tenant of the 49ers, that he does not want to play in another team's stadium.
They might have no choice in the matter, though, at this point.
I don't see San Diego happening, but I do see San Diego as a higher... this is my order. Oakland is the most likely, in my opinion. Then Santa Clara. Then Reno. Then San Diego. Then UNLV. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I don't think... I don't know. San Diego seems kind of weird to me just because I'm not... I just don't think that the NFL will be okay.
I don't think they'll be called like the San Diego Raiders or anything. I don't think that
they won't change their name. I don't think the NFL will approve that, though. I really don't. It's a bad look, too, to take a team away from a city and then let this team play there for 8 games just as like a foster home, That's my view of it. But the NFL does weird things all the time that I don't really think are right or agree with. So, hey, they might just prove me wrong.
Like what?
Raiders play in San Diego.
Like what?
Like the way that they handle suspensions and off-the-field stuff. There's like these weird unwritten rules and double standards, and things aren't defined. And that's why fans are pissed off all the time at the NFL because, they're like, how many games is this guy going to get? Well, he, he was drunk driving, so he should get this many games. Well, he put his hands on a woman and blah, blah, blah. You know how the NFL is. They've been wrong about these suspensions and off-the-field stuff for so long that it's turned fans off a little bit. It's pissed people off. I'm not saying it's driven people away from the game. Maybe very few people, because the numbers are still incredible when it comes to TV viewers and things like that. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, but it doesn't mean that the organization has been ran very smoothly. It definitely has not. I'm actually surprised that Roger Goodell still has a job, but then again, he is the person that the owners appoint, so why should I be surprised?
And of course, the fans hate him more than any other player or official or coach in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did you hear the crowd last year in AT&T Stadium in the draft? He literally almost stopped talking during the draft because they kept booing him.
Yeah.
I thought that was great, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. And honestly, that's how the cookie crumbles when it comes to how being the head official of the NFL. Like, well, I don't think the last commissioner got booed as much as he did.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, him asking for $50 million a year plus a lifetime private jet is pretty, how do you say this, a bit much.
Okay.
I know they make a lot of money, the NFL does, but my lord, $50 million a year and a lifetime private jet sounds like too much to me.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get into that. I mean, whatever. He makes the money that the owners give him, you know? Like, it is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I'm just saying I'm always looking for the most money on my end, so
true.
Why wouldn't anyone else?
And do you always think about saving money, even on stuff like, I don't know, listening to books?
Yeah, I like to save money, definitely, especially around the holidays.
Great. Well, I have the thing for you. If you like listening to books on the go while you're driving to work, Audible might be the friend for you. Right now, for a limited time, you can get 3 months of Audible for just $6.95 a month. That's more than half off the regular price. Give yourself the gift of listening while you're at it. Think about the gift of Audible to someone on your list, your love list, your hate list, your Christmas list, whatever list it is. For more, go to audible.com/GSMC book or text the code GSMC book to 500-500, 500-500. What do you think you'll get with this code? Well, I will tell you what you get with this code. You will get one audiobook, your first audiobook, for free, along with 2 selected Audible original titles and an exclusive fitness program when you start a 30-day trial. So take the time to listen on Audible. Just visit, once again, audible.com/GSMC book or text the code GSMC book to 500-500. That's GSMC book to 500-500.
What happens to your decision-making when you drink? Well, after one drink, you feel confident. A few more, and calling your ex at 1 a.m. seems like a great idea. And you're pretty sure the secret to a great taco is 4-day-old macaroni. The bottom line, drunk you doesn't make great decisions. So you're risking a DUI or worse if you count on him to get you home. Plan before you party. Get home safe. Brought
Welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We've talked about NFL, we talked about Oakland Raiders. Now let's get into the NBA. And we had some game. We only had 3 games yesterday, but we did have a very important game between the Raptors and the Clippers. I know that sounds weird that was an important game, but these are 2 of the top teams in their respective conferences. Mm-hmm. And with that, we had a winner when it came to, without Kawhi Leonard, excuse me. Wow.
Kawhi Lowry?
I don't know what just happened. I think I just had a stroke. But anyways, with this, the Raptors win 123-99 very convincingly. Does this put them as maybe the best team in the NBA officially?
I mean, I think they're already maybe the best team in the NBA.
Well, I mean, just without Leonard, they still dominated a very good team. So that's just why I said that.
It's hard to put any like that importance on any one game, especially when you're playing a Clippers team on the second half of a back-to-back, and they went to overtime in the first part of this back-to-back. A lot of players played over 35 minutes in that game, so I really don't take anything from this game, to be honest with you.
Okay, Ibaka with 25 points. That didn't impress you?
Oh, that's very impressive. Ibaka has been having an incredible season. Also, Nick Nurse, the coach of the Raptors, did not go to the game because his mother passed away. So,
our thoughts to him.
Yep. Rest in peace, Mrs. Nurse. But yeah, the Raptors. I mean, it's an impressive win, but they're playing a team on the second part of a back-to-back. Like, I hate back-to-back NBA scheduling. I think it's the worst.
Well, they hate you too.
They should. They absolutely should, because who likes back-to-backs in the NBA? No one. Nobody.
This is true.
And it's a tough sport to play back-to-back. I mean, obviously other sports would be tough too. But it's not like baseball where you can play every day and really, not exude too much energy in terms of your body and things like that. But basketball, up and down, jumping, running, it takes a toll. And even though the Raptors didn't have Kawhi Leonard, you could tell even early on in that game that the Clippers were just kind of a step behind last night.
Yeah, and also what killed them was their turnovers. They committed 16 turnovers, which you cannot win NBA games with that many turnovers.
Yeah, turnovers are also a lot of times a sign of being tired, right? Like just making mental errors, maybe dropping passes, unforced turnovers.
8 steals were made by the Raptors out of those 16 turnovers, so half of them were steals, which is actually a lot, all things considered. 8 steals in a game for one team is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
Lowry had a good game, though. He's been on a terrible slump lately. Somehow, some way, he's just been struggling. 21 points on 13 shots, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. That is a nice little game for Lowry, a nice bounce-back game, considering we just talked about that Kawhi Leonard he had missed last night. Before we talk about the other 2 games, though, Jeff, I want to talk to you about something.
Mm-hmm.
The Clippers are positioning themselves to be able to have 2 max contract players, and it sounds like they will be doing their best to acquire Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard this offseason. So Kawhi is currently with Toronto. The Clippers are looking to pair those 2 and be the best team in Los Angeles.
The thing is with Kawhi is I have a gut feeling that he's going to stay in Toronto, though, if this team is successful as it is right now. But I can definitely see a potential Durant move, but I think they need to win a championship for Durant to go there. Boom. Get it? Because
I get it. Yeah. Kevin Durant only joins winners, right?
Yeah, it's funny.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know what Kawhi wants to do, but he's a free agent. Like, he can do whatever he wants. So, you never know. Look, for all intents and purposes, it looks like he's enjoying himself, that he's obviously having a great season, but he's from Los Angeles. Kawhi Leonard is from LA, so maybe he wants to go play at home. Maybe he wants to go play in front of those fans. He already mentioned that he's not really, he's not leaning towards the Lakers.
He did play at San Diego State as well, which also is a good intention of playing back in California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have no idea if this will happen, but I am intrigued. I am intrigued by this possibility. Clippers have sent people around to watch both of their teams' games all the time. The Clippers have been keeping their eye on both these players big time. So,
yeah, well, there's definitely going to be
cool.
Well, we all know that it's definitely going to be a big push for the Clippers to get at least one superstar with these 2 max contracts.
Wouldn't that be something, though, if LeBron is the only star for the Lakers and the Clippers all of a sudden have 2? Like they are all of a sudden have Kawhi and Durant.
Well, it's going to be a long shot still for them to get both. I know they have the money for it, but again, getting them over there is a whole different story. So we will see how that plays out. But
that's true. Some people were very shocked, though, when Durant went to Golden State because a lot of people saw that as a long shot. So I don't know. I don't know if this will happen, but I think it's a real possibility for sure.
Yeah. But again, it's just like one of those things where on paper it sounds like it's going to be a slam dunk, but we don't know what the players are thinking. We don't know how they're going to sell their team and sell like their advertise. Well, not advertise, like sell pitch to the players to come there. You know, there's different things going into this than we realize. It's more than just like, oh, we have the money. You got to have like, can this team win now type of aspect to it. So there's a lot of different aspects going into this. Like
that
than
Clippers
just money.
team could be an awesome landing spot for those two. I think if they could get both of those players, I mean, they immediately become maybe not the probably the favorites to win the championship. To be honest with you,
I could definitely see that. It's very weird to think about, isn't it?
Weird. Well, it's weird to say somebody other than the Warriors, right? But if you take Durant,
especially
off the Warriors,
Clippers. All due respect.
Yeah.
But it's the Clippers. I mean, how many times have we seen them be at the very bottom of the conference, and now we're talking about them being potential NBA Finals contenders.
Mm-hmm. A couple other games happened last night. The Rockets, they get a much needed win, 111-104 against the Portland Trailblazers, who have been struggling as of late. James Harden, 29 points. He led the way for the Rockets there. And, you know, these are the games that they're going to have to start winning if they're going to change their season around. I know yesterday we talked about it. I buried them. I said that their season is over. These are the games they're going to have to win, especially the home games against teams in the West. Every team in the West is tough except for Phoenix. More on them later. But, yeah, Chris Paul had a rough night, which was interesting. They were still able to win against a Portland team that, man, they can't seem to find their way after starting off so hot this season.
I don't know. I just feel like the Rockets are having this disappointing season like we talked about, but it's like there's something more there that we're not seeing. Like maybe something behind the scenes or something, but there's something more to it than just lack of play, lack of effort. There's got to be something. There's got to be another explanation, almost, right? It just seems like that's.
I mean, I think
wrong.
the easiest explanation is them losing Mbah Moute and Ariza. I mean, those two guys are just underrated NBA players.
Yes, of course, but again,
I think that's by far the biggest thing. They lost a ton of defense and they added nothing. They lost defense, they added nothing.
Yes, and I know they try to get Carmelo make this like this whole dream team type of scenario, and of course that's not going to be like a likely scenario. It's just all the things that are happening with this organization is just you're investing too much in stars and not in talent.
What do you mean by that?
In like the Carmelo Anthony, for example, they got the name Carmelo Anthony, they didn't get the player in Carmelo Anthony, and they got rid of guys to get that name. They're trying to become this next Warriors, and where they have these all-star names that are worth millions and millions of dollars outside of the NBA and outside of off the court. They're trying to keep up with like the whole LA stick and like the money making stick and selling tickets rather than winning games. Does that make sense?
I mean, I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they actually just thought that Carmelo was going to work.
I don't know why they thought it would be good to get rid of two.
I don't agree with what they did either, but I don't think that they are.
Then
I think their goal is to win a championship for sure. I don't think that their goal is to sell tickets.
I understand, but I think they were saying we can win and sell tickets, and they're like,
but do they ever have a problem selling tickets?
No, but I just think that they want this recognition outside of Houston that they think they don't have over Golden State and LA Lakers now with LeBron. I think they are on the terms of like, we got to put fear, or maybe not fear, but put more hype into us than people realize, even though they have an NBA MVP in James Harden. But I just feel like this team overdid it, overthought about it. Like, we got Carmelo Anthony, we're champions now. We're like the off-season champions. But in reality, Carmelo is a shadow of his former self, and he's on a team right now.
Not many people thought that they were going to be better than they were last year. I certainly didn't. I still thought they'd be a very good team for sure. But yeah, most people that follow the league were very skeptical of their.
They also could have bought into their own hype and got too cocky. That also could have been it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just really simple. They gave away some really good role players, and they acquired Carmelo Anthony, who was a disaster. So, yeah, I think that's it. I don't know if there's any other things behind the scenes. I just think that it's simple. They gave away some good players. They got no good players in return. So, it is what it is. What about that Phoenix Suns at the Spurs? Spurs go on and crush Phoenix 111-86. The Suns are 4-24. Wow.
Swap those records and they are dominant, but again, no.
They are on pace for what appears to be a 12-13 win season,
which is pretty darn bad.
And the Spurs, they improved to 500 record. They are now 14-14. Billy Forbes, 24 points last night, 5 made threes on 5 attempts. He also had 11 rebounds. A really nice game for the guard. Other than that, the Spurs, I mean, they took care of business. They beat a team, an awful team. It was never really close. They had a 9-point lead after the first. They had a 13-point lead by halftime. They pulled away even further in the third. So this game was over early. By halftime, it was definitely nail in the coffin at the end of the third. But, yeah, we already talked about the Suns, but the Spurs, what do we think about them? They're actually right now in 10th. They're right behind Sacramento. So Portland,
honestly,
8, Sacramento 9, Spurs are 10.
I see them at best getting the best seed I can see them getting is number 7. Honestly, that's just how I see it.
I still think they finish under 500. To be honest.
So do you see a playoff still with that?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay. So you don't see them making a playoff entirely?
I think that there's 3 to 4 teams underneath them that could jump them.
Mm-hmm.
The Pelicans, the Timberwolves, the Jazz, and the Rockets are all underneath them.
Well, like you said about the Rockets, they might not even be contending.
Yeah, they might not. That's why I said 3 of the 4. I mean, I could see Utah or the Rockets. I think one of those two will at least make the playoffs, and then Minnesota and New Orleans have a good chance to make the playoffs, but we'll see. We'll see. The Spurs, though, I mean, the one thing about them is that they're good at home, but they're just so bad on the road. I mean, they're 10-4 at home. They're 4-10 on the road. Yeah, they're giving up 112 points a game. Like, all the numbers say to me that they're a bad team. They are on a 3-game winning streak, though.
Mm-hmm. I still think we're almost like in a parallel universe where these teams are like on the top, not just like not the Warriors, of course, but like the Nuggets and the Clippers, and all these teams are doing so well. And teams we expected to have great seasons like Utah and Houston are not having these great seasons like we expected them to. I just think we're in this weird alternate dimension made by some sort of evil scientist. I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, what's more logical, alternate universe or a flat Earth? Yeah, think about that one, huh?
Alternate universe.
Yeah.
How about we go to a break?
Yeah, let's go to a break.
All right.
Right now, we will take a little break. When we come back, we will talk about any other news and corps on our final segment in sports, and we'll be right back right after this.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the final segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast. I almost forgot about the main title. So we're going to go on other news, quirks, and little additions we want to do to the final segment of the show. Mark, you said you had a few things written down for us?
Yes, so the Vikings yesterday fired their offensive coordinator, John DeFilippo, after 13 games, and they promoted their quarterbacks coach, Kevin Stefanski, will take over. But it sounds as if Mike Zimmer, head coach Mike Zimmer, will have a say in the offense. He will spend more time on the offense, have influence there. Do you think that this is the shakeup that the Vikings needed, or was DeFilippo maybe just the fall guy for Kirk Cousins?
I'm calling it as a fall guy, personally.
The Vikings are 30th in rushing the football, and I think that's a problem. I do think that they get way too cute with their play calling sometimes. They like to throw the ball a ton. I think we'll see that those percentages go more 50-50 as this team is trying to secure a playoff spot. These next 3 games are super crucial for this team. And the fact of the matter is Kirk Cousins is struggling a little bit, but they do have Dalvin Cook. I know that offensive line isn't great, but I think they need to run the ball a little bit more so they can set up the pass, make teams honest, and maybe just accept the fact that they're not a high-scoring, high-flying offense like they thought that they were going to be heading into the season.
Yeah, they had a lot of hype going into this season. Like, adding Kirk Cousins and losing Case Keenum, this team is bound for a Super Bowl. That's what everyone thought.
Most of us thought, too, that they would be one of the best offenses in the NFL, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And,
adding
Dalvin Cook and Stephon Diggs is becoming a man of his own, and Thielen playing at the level he's been playing at.
Kyle Rudolph is a good tight end. I mean,
absolutely.
When we looked at it on paper before the year, we probably said this was a top 5 offense.
This was a slam dunk.
Yeah, so I think they just need to accept the fact that they are not that team. They're not the Rams. They're not the Chiefs. They're not the Saints. But they can be effective. So I see more of that coming. Of course, Mike Zimmer said, they'd like to run the football more, so that helps there. Jimmy Butler, he has no structural damage in his knee. He was injured, and he should be okay. So that's good news for Jimmy Butler and the Philadelphia 76ers. He's been great since he's been added to the team. The Sixers have been good. They have
still has his trash talking. You hear what he said about Blake Griffin?
What did he say?
He said Blake cannot guard me, even though he's way taller than he is.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what.
That.
Yeah, well, that was his words, not mine. I'm just repeating it. So we'll see how, when they two play each other again, we'll see how that goes. But again, Jimmy Butler's still in his trash-talking ways. Not about his team this time. It's about other players, which is improving. That's definitely an improvement.
Yeah, the 76ers, again, they've been good. So Kansas State football, they have hired a new coach, and they have hired North Dakota State's coach, Chris Kleiman. He will be the new head coach of the Wildcats.
So the man that coached North Dakota State to multiple FCS championships is now going to the big time.
67-6 with 3 championships at North Dakota State.
That is, I don't care what.
That's pretty good.
I don't care what league or division or whatever you want to call it he was in. That's still impressive to me.
Absolutely. So he takes over for Hall of Fame coach Bill Snyder, who retired earlier this month. I think that's a nice get for Kansas State. They're a program that's overlooked. They're not going to really get a big name. So I like them going for somebody under the radar who's like an up-and-coming type coach. I think that's
hopefully recruits will look at that as an opportunity to play for a good coach, too. Because that's where the most important thing comes in. When you're looking for a head coach, you're looking for a guy that can recruit good players. So
yesterday in Champions League soccer, Liverpool and Tottenham, they advanced by the skin of their teeth. Both will go into the knockout phase of the Champions League, narrowly avoiding not making it past the group stage. So fans of those teams will be excited. The usual suspects all advanced, the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas. There wasn't any notable teams that did not advance, but there is a match day today, so we will have more results after today. Other than that, Jeff,
I think we are done, though. I think you're right.
I got nothing else. I got nothing.
Okay, relax. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Please tune in tomorrow where we will preview Thursday Night Football and hopefully more news and notes and quirks can also happen in the next 24 hours. So we have things to talk about, which 99% of the time, that's what happens. So we will see you tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.